Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my February book haul. So first off, as always, let's start with the library books that I picked up in the month of February. I actually picked up 10 books from the library in the month of February. However, I don't actually have the very first book that I picked up. I have already returned it to the library because I couldn't, it had holds on it, so I couldn't renew it at all, and because I'm filming this really late, I'm filming this on the 12th of March, I already had to read it and return it. That book was Heartfire by K.A. Borman, so spoiler alert for my March mid-month wrap-up. I have already read this and returned it, as I said. This is the third book in the Winterkill trilogy, which is a trilogy that I can't remember exactly when I read the first book, but it was quite a while ago, and I read the second book kind of as it was released, and now I've read this book close to when it was released, and this is the final book in the trilogy. The next book I picked up from the library is Deep Freeze by Emily Rodda. This is the 28th book in the series. I also picked up All the Little Liars by Charlaine Harris. This is the 9th book, I believe it is, in the Aurora Teagarden series. If you recall, there are 8 books that were initially published, and then there was a very giant gap, and then this book was published. I had very mixed feelings about that. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this, but I do want to continue, so I do look forward to kind of finding out how the author has decided to go on and how the series may have changed, considering that there is such a giant gap between the 8th book and the 9th book. Next from the library, I picked up Giant Days Volume 1. This is by, who is this by? Created and written by John Allison, illustrated by Lissa Tremaine, with colors by Whitney Kogar. This is the next graphic novel series that I want to try. I've heard amazing things about this, and it just sounds like something that will be really up my alley. I don't know too much about it, except that I believe it just follows 3 girls in their freshman year of college, I think it is, and it's just like following their lives. So I'm really looking forward to getting to this. Next from the library, I have 11 on Top by Janet Ivanovich. This is the 11th book in the Stephanie Plum series, and the next one I need to get to. I then picked up Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. This is one of the books that is from the books that I want to read from my Goodreads to read list. It's one of my reading challenges this year. I have seen this movie with Robert Pattinson and Reese Witherspoon. I've seen the movie, but I've had the book on my to read list for just like a really, really long time. So I do want to, I liked the movie. I didn't think it was anything like super exceptional, but I'm interested to read the book and see if I like that any better. Next, I have The Winter House by Nikki Gerard. This is also to help complete one of my challenges. This is from my physical TBR list. I believe this is about 3 friends that were friends like in their youth, but they have grown apart due to, I believe, specific events. And one of them, they're much older now, and I believe one of them is dying, and so they all gather at one of their houses for like their last days of this person's life, and they start to kind of rehash previous events and what kind of broke up their friendship group. I do like stories generally about this type of thing, about what kind of broke apart friendships. I find that normally quite fascinating, so I am interested to read this. I then picked up The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, The Japanese Art of Decluttering and Organizing by Marie Kondo. This is quite a different book for me. If you've been watching my channel, this is nonfiction, obviously. I've heard a lot of people talking about this, and I decided I just wanted to read it and see kind of how it impacted me and if it helped me. I live alone, and because I live alone, I have a tendency to be quite messy at times. Not dirty, just messy. I, use like my kitchen bench and my dining room table, things that I don't use that often, as just like places to store crap. And so I thought that this might help me stop those bad habits and like even just start to get rid of crap, because I do have a lot of stuff that I look around sometimes and I'm like, I don't know why I'm keeping all this stuff. So I just thought that this might be an interesting read. I don't know if it'll help me. I know a lot of people find this really it really changes their lives and how they see their stuff. I don't know if it'll be like that for me, but we'll see. Next, I have 3-Act Tragedy by Agatha Christie. I think this is the 12th book in the Hercule Poirot series. It's whichever the next one is that I need to get to. And the last book that I have from the library is The Scarecrow by Michael Connelly. This is the second and final book in the Jack McAvoy, like following the Jack McAvoy character. I read The Poet by him, as The Poet was a serial killer that had kept coming up, and I decided to just obviously read this second book that follows this character so that I will have completed this series by Michael Connelly as well. So those were all the books that I picked up from the library. Now let's move on to the books that I purchased myself in the month of February. The first book that I have here is actually the book I mentioned in my January book haul, that one of the books from my monthly order to Book Depository from January hadn't come in. And that did arrive this month, and that is Prey by Rachel Vincent. This is the 4th book in, I think it's called the Shifter series by Rachel Vincent. I haven't read any of these books, but I do own the first 3 and now the 4th one, so that I can eventually read the whole series, presumably. So now we have the books from my monthly order, actually from February, from the Book Depository. The first of those is Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a book that I've heard about, a few people talk about. It's a young adult fantasy, I believe, that follows trolls, which is quite different and you don't hear a lot about. And you know how sometimes you just hear about a book and you're not sure why, but you think it's going to be a book that you really, really enjoy? That's what's happened to me with this book. Every time I hear someone talk about it, I just really, really want to read it. I've been meaning to pick it up for ages, and I finally picked up this first book. I probably won't get to it for ages, but I'm really excited to finally own it. The next book I have is The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the 4th and final book in the Raven Boys. The Raven Cycle, I believe it's called. I do own all of this series now, and I will be reading this series this year. I'm really excited to finally get to this series, and this in particular is possibly my favorite book cover of all time. I really, really, really love this cover, and I'm so excited to read this series and see what I think of it. And the final book that I have is Kingslayer by Virginia Bocart. This is a book that I have already read. I own the first book. I didn't own the second one. I read it from the library, but I did want to buy this so that I own the complete duology. This is a young adult historical fantasy that follows a girl who is a witch hunter. She's found with witch's herb, which is illegal, and she is put into jail and going to be like burnt at the stake or whatever for being a witch, when the most powerful wizard in the land comes to her and asks for her help in something, and in exchange he will like break her out of prison, and it all kind of kicks off from there. I really enjoyed this duology, so I'm excited to own the complete series. So those were all the books that I picked up in the month of February. If you've read any of these books, if you've got any thoughts, I would love to chat with you guys. Did you guys pick any awesome books up in February? I would love to chat in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys.